depending on what's going on a particular set of projects, including the point of actually having people double booked potentially or triple booked across projects. And that can then result in a challenge that you have to deal with as a manager, which is the person is doing their best, they're working hard and long hours, but none of the project managers that they're working with are happy, right? Because they all feel underserved by this person. The person feels overworked, but at the same time, everybody who's working with them on each of these projects feels underserved by this individual. So that's a challenge. It can be overcome, and in some cases it has to be overcome when you have highly specialized application domains or technologies that require that the testers working on them be highly specialized. You really have no choice but to deal with this. But you do need to think about this. How am I going to handle this issue of the peaks and valleys of the workload, both across the different project teams and also within the test team, because that's going to create some morale issues if you've got one set of people who are working 60-hour weeks while other people are looking for things to do because no project needs their skills. Okay, in contrast to that, you have the generalist team approach to organizing, which is rather than trying to have the 10x effectiveness people, you want to have the 2.5x effectiveness people, right? You want everybody to have average level of skills across all of the skills that are needed in your testing. So everybody is generalist. And so when there's work to be done, I can move people around based purely on their availability, right? This is a theory here, of course. Achieving this in practice is a whole other story. But theoretically, if you had a perfectly generalized team, the skills levels were equal across all of the team members, you could move people around as the workload required. Which means that whatever the workload is, it's the same for everybody. Right? People are put onto a project, they stay on that project until that project doesn't need them anymore or until they're actively reassigned to some other project based on the consent of the different project teams. So it takes the test manager out of the position of getting stuck in the middle of resource contention. Somebody's assigned, they stay on the project, the project manager doesn't release them, then they're still on that project, no matter what's going on in other projects. Now, that sounds like it might work, but again, you know, there are no solutions here. They're just partial solutions and pros and cons associated with each. So your issue here, of course, is one, on any given task, the testers are not as effective as they would be in a specialized team, right? Because they're not experts at everything, they're generalists. Two, there's the problem of what I refer to here as going native, which is the person's assigned to a project and they get so wound up in that project, so focused on that project that they forget that they're there to serve as an independent assessor of quality. And so they don't really do that. They start to identify more with the development team's goals and development manager's goals than with the larger goals of the test team. So that also has to be dealt with. And this is something that, again, you see come up in sprint teams, you know, and Scrum and other agile approaches, because people tend to get put onto not just a project, but they're put on a team and kept there for a long period of time. How do you keep them from losing that objectivity? Okay, so one of the things that you could do is say, well, you know, I want the best of both there. I want to have both a generalized component of my test team, but I also want to have a specialized sub-team, if you will. And this is sometimes referred to as a testing center of excellence, particularly if the center of excellence is a separate, dedicated facility. Now, you can have a sort of virtual center of excellence, if you will, within and co-located in an existing test team, where you get a group of people together and go, okay, you guys are the test automation center of excellence, right? the challenge with that when it's co-located with a larger generalized team is that there are a lot of forces that are going to tend to pull people off of that as peaks come up. Oh, you know how to do this because you used to do this. Here, let me pull you back into this. And then that ends up degrading the center of excellence. If it's a separate, dedicated organization in some separate location, then that can counteract that. You can organize these things in a variety of different ways. You can do this based on test type. So it's not unusual to find performance testing groups, usability testing groups, compatibility testing groups. This can be done based on technologies, Windows teams, Unix teams, mobile phone teams, right? If you're moving into mobile technologies, we want some people who are experts in that. Or it can be done by application. You know, the organization has particular applications, and we can say, hey, you guys are focused on this. This often has special tooling and environments issues associated with it. For example, the performance testing. You need to have performance test tools, performance test environments, and obviously the skills need to be there. Now, one of the things that happens with the center of excellence phrase has been and continues to be kind of a buzzword. And like any other buzzword, like Agile and a lot of these other buzzwords, it tends to get watered down where people use it to describe something that is not appropriate, right? So if you're going to have a center of excellence, a testing center of excellence, it should indeed be a center of excellence, right? Not some sort of locus of mediocrity. You know? So it's going to be excellent, make it excellent, you know. Here's a case study. One of our clients, Computer Associates, they used to be called Computer Associates, they now go by CA, has 3 testing centers of excellence. And they wrote an article about this that was in Software Testing Performance magazine. I helped them write this. One of them is in Hyderabad, and this is they have their India Technology Center, and there's a testing center of excellence within that. Accounts for 45% of their testing resources, and they are organized around product lines. That's how they've chosen to do that. So they've got different people there that are dedicated to different products, which makes sense because some of the CA products are very specialized types of products, mainframe, enterprise management types of products. They have a center of excellence in Beijing. I was lucky enough to visit that earlier this year, and I was unlucky enough to visit it on the coldest recorded day in the last 50 years. So my ears are attached, and there was no surgery required to get them reattached, but it felt like there would be walking around in that air. Anyway, they have their China Technology Center, and this is more technologically focused rather than application focused. So they have C and C++ and Java and Windows and Unix skills there, different groups. And they do testing for the products that require those particular technologies. That's how they get assigned that work. And then they have a group in Prague, the Czech Republic, another place I was lucky enough to visit, though again, very cold and snowy when I was there, that is focused on mainframe and automation. So you can see there are some